Hello, everyone. We are back, moving and grooving. We have updates for you. We have life thoughts for
hmm
you. And just honestly, I can't predict, but I think this conversation is going to resonate with everyone who listens to it. Even with
I
the
feel like
question. Oh, go ahead.
I feel like the ones where we don't even have an answer to what
Yes.
we're talking about actually end up being the most
Mm-hmm.
juicy conversations because it's like
Yes.
we're coming into this just trying to have a discussion around I don't know, an ideal or something. And
Right.
I like to see where we end up because we don't come
Yes.
into it with like a strong opinion.
Exactly. I do too. I'm like, ooh, I know I'm going to learn something through this
hmm
conversation because we really want to dive in to this whole idea, this whole concept of, am I doing too much? And I feel like everyone's just like, oh, yes,
I
me.
feel as though if you clicked this, I don't know. If I saw this title, Am I Doing Too Much, on a podcast that I listened to and I clicked it, it's because I am
Yes.
doing too much. But there's a spectrum of this feeling of too much in life. And we're going to kind of dive into that
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. Exactly. Because if you listened to last week, we are in the woods. We
We're in the
are
woods.
we are in the woods.
And let me say, it is magical, friends.
It
It is
is.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We are creating it and building it live and sharing that over on at the Woods Within on Instagram. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to watch us bring the woods to life, we invite you to come over there and hang
Absolutely.
out and join the wait list as well. But what I think is really cool is that as we're creating it and building it, we're also using the tools that we're creating and building every single day, every single second.
Yes. Which I love it. It's very trippy.
Very trippy. This whole conversation is trippy.
Yeah.
Building the outline was trippy. We're not sure if there's going to be a thread or it's going to make sense,
Yep.
but
Nope.
that's kind of what this life is. It's pretty freaking trippy.
Yes. Yeah. So we really, even just this last few days, we've been voxering back and
Mhm,
forth. And as we popped on before we started to record, Jenna was like, okay, there's a thread here. Like this, am I doing too much? Like, okay, I'm
mhm,
like, keep coming back to this as we're creating content of like, all right, is this too much? Too much.
mhm.
Where's the intention with it?
Yeah, and it comes from this feeling of we want to create something that is so valuable and so useful and worth it if
Yeah.
you're coming into the woods. Like, obviously, that's something that we want to deliver and we are aiming and will deliver, like that's
Yes.
not going away.
Hmm.
But then there's this like flip side of it that when does is more actually more?
Mm,
Is more actually more beneficial or more
right.
useful? Or
Yeah.
is less more? And so we're kind of like teetering this line of, are we over delivering from
Yep.
an ego place,
Right.
or are we over delivering in this area because we actually can and we have the resources and it's meant to be a little extra?
Yeah.
And that's a hard line to walk.
Yes. Yes. Especially because I feel, I mean, and I know just from like the past decade of my life being in like coaching, healthcare, that sort of sphere of things, it's very much in my awareness. But like, man, as a woman in this American society,
Mhm.
like this value, doing it all, having it all together, like it's the same thread, right?
Mhm.
Like we may
We've
put
all felt it
yes.
in some way.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's just, man, it's in there deep. Like it's just one of
Mhm.
those like, oh, I need to like take a moment to see here. Like, is this coming from people pleasing, ego,
Mhm.
or is this like really alignment? And like there's all sorts of ways we'll talk about with your human design that you can kind of like check yourself
Mhm.
and kind of have a quick like, oh, right, that's conditioning, or like, oh, actually, I want to keep providing. Like this is
Mhm.
really lighting me up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I feel like every woman I know relates to this whole notion. Like it's very much in our lives.
Yeah. And it's funny you said check yourself. And I'm like, I didn't even check myself. Nick checked me.
But you knew some,
I
like you
I
prompted
know.
it.
Yes, I opened the conversation
Yeah.
to get some feedback
Yep.
from Nick, and he was like,
He
okay,
informed.
Jenna, let's ground in. I don't think he used those words. But then that's kind of what prompted me to message you, and what you
Yeah.
said was just so potent of like, we want to deliver the exact message that's meant to be delivered. We don't have to deliver every single message.
Right. Right. Like, oh,
Tricky.
okay. Okay.
Relief, but tricky.
Yes, absolutely. Because there really is like this spectrum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's where this is not a cut and dry
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's,
Yeah, there's like two sides to it. Like, I
yeah,
think we're coming from this people pleasing tendency, or,
yeah.
this wanting to show that we're of value,
Mm-hmm.
right, in
Mm-hmm.
the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of our conditioning. And so
Yeah.
we are maybe over delivering, or delivering from a place of like, from a lack frequency of like, oh,
Yes.
I do know this, I can do this. Like, it's like
Right.
this proving energy and frequency.
Yeah.
And that's like one side of the spectrum of this concept of doing too much. But then we also, as we were discussing, we're like, wait, but also some people are asked to minimize themselves
Yeah.
in this
Absolutely.
world. And, they're like, girl, you're doing too much, chill. And that
Yes.
is also very triggering, I'm sure, for a lot of people, and for us in different areas of life too. And you could fall in different, lenses of that. You could experience this doing too much from many different lenses, especially in different areas of your life. So, for
Yeah.
example, for me, I feel like I'm trying to over deliver
Yeah.
in, the product world, and in maybe even the coaching, serving, mentorship world.
Yeah.
But then I felt, at least, I don't think I've been told, but like, I felt around like friends and family that I was being too much in the sense
Mm.
of
Mm.
mentorship, coaching,
Ah,
spirituality, woo woo.
sure. Sure.
How about for you?
Yeah. I mean, oh man. I mean the people pleasing, it's like off the charts. Like, I mean, that we could talk weeks about examples there. But it's one of those things that like it also since we're talking kind of this business scope of things as well, like
Mhm.
it served me well in corporate coaching, right? Like in a lot of ways, this people
It's like I'm like picturing a little dog that's being trained. Not
oh
that you're a
yeah.
little puppy,
Oh,
but you kind of are a little puppy.
I am. I'm a golden
It's like,
retriever for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. But it's like you get that affirmation from the world of like, yes, keep going, keep going. So you
Yes.
just keep doing and doing and
Yes.
adding more and adding more. Like, that's
Yes.
the
Well,
metaphor that's coming to mind.
and in the coaching space, like literally on a one-to-one, it's okay, you're going to hire me again. You're going to come back for another session. Like that intention. I mean,
Is
yes, you want to serve and help, but then that scarcity is still there to be like,
mm-hmm,
well, if I people please, if I over deliver, if I, throw
mm-hmm,
in this thing, if I put in that thing, then they'll come back. Or they're like, refer someone over to me. And it's like,
mm-hmm.
well, is that the vibe you want to be giving out in the
And I
world,
feel like
really?
that's what is the majority. Like, when you
Yes,
go on social media, or, and this could be any industry, but thinking of the lens of
absolutely.
coaching and the online space,
Yeah.
everybody is doing too much.
And I think we've
The
seen that,
majority is.
yeah, like the last, I don't know what, 3 years maybe, kind of COVID time. It's that like, put all the bonuses in the course, add
Mm-hmm,
this, add that. They get website templates, they get these free calls, and it was just like, oh my God, look at this like $2,000 value bonus.
oh yeah, the
Like
way
that
they
was such the
connect you.
trend.
Yeah, yeah.
I just feel like, and I do feel like that's changing kind of an
Mm-hmm.
Instagram landscape. But like, I mean, if you see other people doing it, like, well,
You
I'm
feel
just
like
showing
I
up
was
for a 60
supposed
minute
to.
call. Like,
Exactly.
okay.
But you know what? As you were like saying all of that, I'm just gonna say bullshit, because to
I
me,
mean,
I'm
yeah.
oh, gross, gross. That's
Yes.
the doing too much from lack,
100%.
mostly. Yes.
Yes.
But as you were saying all of that BS, I'm sitting here thinking, my most powerful and transformative interactions, experiences, work in the world has been when I've done the least amount of work.
Right.
or
Right.
gave the least amount of
Right.
effort.
Right.
Like I am, I'm gonna say like I'm less, but I'm more potent when I am less, when I am not trying, when I'm not forcing and pushing and trying to make myself bigger than I am.
Yes. And that's so beautiful for a projector with a
Mhm.
2 line in your profile. Like that's
Yeah,
like,
so
oh, that
let's like
sounds
dive in.
cozy.
This can be very simple
Yes.
without a
And we're going to
sacral.
keep coming back to this ourselves.
I know we're like actively coaching ourselves
We
as
are.
we're speaking live on the podcast, so this is fun. Don't judge us.
Right. Working through it.
But yeah, I mean, anyone who doesn't have this sacral defined and
Yeah.
does not have that consistent life force energy,
Yeah.
you don't have to do as much.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Literally.
Very
Yes.
simple. And if you do have that life force energy,
Mhm.
especially like an MG,
Sure.
don't be afraid of being too much or doing too much. Like you can do a lot. You are
Mhm.
meant to do a lot. So
Mhm.
those might be the
Mhm.
people who have felt like people were trying to make them smaller.
Yes. Yes, yes. I always think of MGs when I hear
Mm-hmm.
that. And even like manifestors too, from more that like how they speak, how they communicate.
How they
But
demand and command a room.
yes, yes. But
Mm-hmm.
MG's like you're multi-passionate, you're non-linear beings. Like
Mm-hmm.
embrace that. Like, come on, lean
And like
into it.
I'm thinking as a projector, the advice to a projector is let an MG be an MG and you still celebrate being a projector. Like
Yeah.
stay in your
Yes.
lane a little bit
Sure. Sure, sure.
because you're going to give more by giving less.
Yes. Because you're going to be invited
Mhm.
when the timing is correct. And that's going to feel so freaking good for you.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to see that success for that other person so clearly
Hmm.
in those times.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I'm also thinking about like the open centers.
of course. Oh,
Tell me what you think about this. But in relation to this discussion of doing too much, I feel like you can kind of evaluate or check yourself if you're not already aware that you're like, oh shit, this is definitely coming from lack and ego. You know,
yeah.
I can do less or vice versa. A
Hmm.
good place to look would be your center. So like what area of life or how are you acting out in this like doing too much? And is it coming from a defined center? Because if
Mm,
those centers are defined, I feel like you do show up bigger. You do take up
yeah.
more space in a room when you have that center defined. So maybe like emotionally, let's say in the
Mm,
solar plexus,
hmm.
if someone's defined there and they seem emotional or moody or whatever it is, or you seem emotional and moody with that defined, that's not too much. You're
Right.
supposed to be that way. Like
Yes.
you might be around people who don't have the solar plexus defined,
Yep.
and you might feel like too much around them.
Sure.
It's correct for you. Be too much in that area. Like that's
Yes.
fine. But
Yes.
then someone with maybe an open ego, dun, 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 dun,
Hi.
me and you, um, there's this emptiness there in a sense within us where we
Yes.
might be trying too hard to prove ourselves and prove
Yes.
that we have value and that we can do something and we can contribute.
Yes.
That is coming, let's say, from lack because we don't have that consistent energy in that center.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those of you who have it defined, this
We
is
feel you.
also, yep, yes. And like, own that. If you got a little push,
Mhm.
extra push in you, go do the extra push. Like,
Mhm. Don't let people like Jessica and I say that you're
yes,
too much.
exactly. Yes.
So I think that's a really cool reference point within the human
Yep.
design system
Yep.
and chart to kind of consider where it is your truth or not your truth.
Yeah.
And like another example would be open head center,
I was thinking that too. Yep. Yep. Yep.
inspiration. Like I don't need to show or showcase to myself or the world how inspired I am or
Right.
like all the things I'm inspired by.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yes.
open. Like I don't have that consistency there.
Yep.
So actually less is more for me there.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. Yeah.
trusting the timing of life is what's right there. I don't need to overexert day to day in
Yep.
that space.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's like so many examples we could give
Mhm.
around centers, but simply if you, I mean, I would say start with whatever centers are open and see that conditioning aspect of it.
Which we have a great episode on that. I
Yes. Yes, we
don't
do.
recall which one it is, but maybe I'll put it in the show notes of
Yeah.
some of the open centers.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And you'll probably know right away. Like, ooh, okay, my will center is open and I am certainly trying to prove myself here as I
Mhm,
establish this new business. Like, oh, okay. Like, all
mhm.
right, you can give yourself grace. You can like just it allows you to like just take a moment and just kind of, check yourself,
Even
check your
I think
energy.
of the throat center, like over explaining yourself.
Yes, yes,
If that's
yes.
open, like you might feel like you have to talk your way through things or, talk extra when
Yeah.
you're around others or
Yep.
prove that you can contribute to the conversation.
Sure.
Because I do think this translates outside of business as well. Like
Oh,
where in your
yes.
life, I mean, it comes down to where in your life and what moments in life do you like put on a show?
Ah, yes. Yes.
Or on the opposite end of that, where in your life do you make yourself smaller?
Mhm. Mhm.
Putting on a show and forcing yourself to be smaller are not natural, authentic expressions of your spiritual being
Yeah.
or spirit in this human suit. So just
Mhm.
kind of using those two as a marker. And I would say, like, what was I going to say? Hold on, I have it.
I believe you.
Oh, whichever one you're trying to avoid is
Mm.
probably a sign of lack.
Sure. I can see
Like
that.
in the case of the woods and us creating this
Yeah.
and, building this magical space,
Yes.
the thing I am trying to avoid is giving too little.
Sure. Feeling
Mhm. Yes,
like we're giving too little.
yes. And so that's coming from an ego place,
Yeah.
whichever one I'm trying to avoid or run from.
Yep. Yep. And I would also say for me, there's definitely a flavor of people pleasing, right? Like I
Mhm.
want somebody to come in and like us and like, oh, want to just stay forever and meet all the cool
That's
people.
interesting that like yours, I feel like is more people related
Yeah.
and mine is more like knowledge based
Yeah.
related,
Yeah.
which definitely comes from conditioning and also our charts.
Yes.
But yeah,
Right.
like mine's more coming from the ego of like I do know something and I have something to share, and yours is like
Yes.
I want people to be happy.
Yes.
And we're making it sound like this is like a super toxic place to go to. But we are so self-aware of our behaviors and we are
Right.
sharing them with you
Yes.
so that you can normalize these behaviors for yourself, but also get
Absolutely.
really comfortable having conversations like this with yourself or with your people to be like,
Yeah.
oh wait, that's not my truth. Why are we doing this? Is it my truth or is it someone
Yep.
else's?
Yep. And like the core theme you're going to hear us say over and over again. And then if any of you do decide to join the woods in whatever capacity, like you will see this very clearly in there. It's like, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be deep. It can be easy. And it's literally just this type of conversation to be like, oh, there it is. Oh, why is it there? Oh, because of this. Oh, okay. Well, I can do something differently about that. Like now I'm building this awareness that I didn't have 10 minutes ago that now I can choose to have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's lovely. That's such an incredible tool.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of tools, we're going to have tools in the woods that are going to help you do this. I'm
Yes.
already thinking of the map of you and how we could use the map of you to break this down so simply.
Right. Right.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm
Because
so
I'm
excited.
thinking, okay, so this needing to prove that I am of value, I'm thinking of playing sports and things. There were
Yeah.
always, my two besties were always a little bit better than me.
Sure. Sure.
And so it was always this feeling of like trying to be them, give as much as them. When I
Yep.
was just a little projector going to school 5 days a week, going
Right.
to after school activities, coming
Yep.
home, cleaning my room, doing my homework, and probably being tired AF.
Yes. And probably anxious.
Uh-huh. Because I was
Yeah.
trying to be and keep up with somebody and some
Yep.
energy frequency that was absolutely not me.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And now I'm still doing it now.
Well, we all have those flavors,
Yeah.
right? Like you can then
Mm-hmm.
see, yeah, like before we started to record, it was like, I'm so done with this notion of like, oh, am I providing value? Like,
You said the words you used were I have outgrown
yeah,
like the excessive value packed
yes,
like belief system. And then
yes,
you said, and I want to be very potent and clear
yes,
on my delivery. And when you said that, I was like, yes, yes,
right?
please.
Who doesn't want to be around that?
I want to be around you like that.
I don't mean it specifically me, but thank you. Thank
Who
you.
doesn't want to be around that? Like, who doesn't want to be around me?
Right? Let's come on. But what I also like, as you say that, what I also kind of hear for that messaging is instead of throwing everything in the kitchen sink at someone to like do something with, like here, blah, blah, here's my wisdom, here's my method, here's my blah, it's
Mm-hmm.
actually like, no, we're going to take the time to distill it and have the intention for it to be impactful for your life and have this exchange. Like it just seems there's automatically more depth and meaning
Yeah.
than just, blah, here's
Well,
the
and I'm
100
hearing you
things.
say, you said, here's everything I know. Here's like everything I've collected and developed, and here's everything I know. And that's like selfish, right? Like that's a selfish act to be like, here's everything
Yes.
I know. But
Yes.
instead, this is what I'm hearing you were saying was instead, what's the one thing that you need that's going to change your life?
Yes.
What's the one thing that's going to be impactful to you today or in this product or in this experience of we're
Right.
talking about the woods,
Mm-hmm.
but this can be of value in any, I'm thinking like a conversation with a friend. Like we don't always have to like give everything.
No, no.
Like it's just this feeling of, grounding in,
Mm-hmm.
taking a deep breath and evaluating the situation around you.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Presence and awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
also, like, I just want to give a shout out though. I don't know why. I can also tell when someone is doing a lot and they're doing it from an abundant place.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more. I like that.
Like, I can, like, let's say on social media, when someone is like showing up and sharing their life day in and day out, or,
Yeah.
they're so passionate about their
Yes.
methodology or their offering. And to me, it still feels like a lot because I still don't have access to that type of energy. But
Mm.
I do see people who are giving it like their all.
Yes.
And it's right because they have that energy, that life force, that those dynamics within themselves to be
Yep.
a lot. Like we're not all meant to be less either. You know what
Oh,
I mean? It's a
sure.
giant fucking puzzle piece of energy. Like we're not all meant to be like pulling ourselves back. Some of us have, been conditioned to be small. And so if you're that person who you felt like you've always been shrinking and making
Yes.
yourself smaller in this world, I want you to do more.
Yes.
Do more, be
Yes.
more, share yourself more.
Yes. Get out of that comfort zone, that little bubble of
Mhm.
playing small.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And that's
And
all, that could be people pleasing too. Like
oh, yes.
like
Yes,
playing
yes.
small can also be people pleasing. This is where I feel like this conversation is so trippy because it's like, does any of this make sense? I don't know. I hope so.
I hope so too. This is
It
how we're
does.
processing
Yeah.
where we're at in real
I love
life.
it.
But
I love
because of this processing, then when we get back into creating Woods content,
it.
it'll be
Hmm.
like ding ding ding. Okay, there it is. That's
Hmm.
what we were going for all along, which is so
Yeah.
cool. It's so
Yeah.
cool.
And it's like, hopefully we're giving you a little guidance
Yeah.
on, recognizing when you're being authentic and what you're delivering is authentic and true to you and your energy. And also we just want to give you permission to do less or do more. Like
Yes.
whatever is landing or feeling right for you, in your heart and in your body,
Yes.
which end of the spectrum, like you're playing, you're trying too hard to stay on. And this is permission to like swing the other way.
Yes. Absolutely.
Mm,
It is. And I just like give yourself, I don't know, a few deep breaths to actually anchor into that instead of being all up in your head of just, well, it's got to be this, it's got to be that.
mhm.
Oh, like, no, just how's your body feeling? Like, connect to that intuition that you have. And then from there, you can say, okay, now that I feel this, what's the next best step for
Mhm.
me? But yeah, I mean, this whole notion of like, oh, the proving, am I providing value? I mean, I feel like connecting with that every day as we're really building this first iteration of the woods is going to be really important for like me
Yeah,
personally.
yeah, me as well.
Yeah,
And but I like totally trust us.
I do
Like
too.
it's so cool. Like even though I know that we're exposing like the behind the scenes of creating it and the mental blocks and maybe energy blocks that we're experiencing,
Yep.
I do trust though, because we have all of these tools and we've
Hmm.
used them for many years now. I trust that at the end or when, the woods is released and we're
Yeah.
inviting people into it with us, like it's going to be exactly what it's supposed to be. So it's like
Yes.
as chaotic as it feels sometimes creating it, and like trippy and
Yes.
messy and,
Mm-hmm.
just not clear. It feels like moment to moment, we're making sure that we are clear in our efforts and in
Yeah,
ourselves. And so I totally trust that it's going to be the most beautiful experience for whoever comes in.
absolutely.
Oh my God, I just let people in now.
I know. I know.
Oh,
It will be
we'll be
such a
there
great
soon.
space.
Yes, and we'll be there soon.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Yes. Things are
Not
moving
ready
and
to release any
grooving.
dates yet, but we are all going to be frolicking in the woods, just like I dreamed of 3 years ago, very, very soon.
Right. Right. Oh,
Oh, having
so good.
conversations like this and
Yes.
finding that balance within
Yep.
ourselves.
Yeah. And that is, that is one of our intentions is to have live aspects within that space because that's something, even starting this podcast, we really grappled with like, man, how do we continue these conversations?
Mhm.
Like, oh, how do we do that? So this is going to be like such a incredible way to do that and
Mhm.
to connect and have others connect and all that good stuff. So that'll also be an aspect that I don't know if we've shared yet
Yeah,
on the
I don't
podcast.
know either. We'll
Yeah.
see. But if
Yeah.
you want to follow along, like I said at the beginning of this episode, The Woods Within
Yep.
on Instagram. We also have the woods within .co is
Yes.
our website. So you can join the waitlist there and
Yep.
highly recommend joining the waitlist.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be just going to be such a magical, easy, simple, structured place
It
where we
is.
can all thrive.
Yep. Check, check, check.
Okay. Well, I feel like that is the end of this discussion.
I do too.
But perhaps we'll invite people into the conversation in the woods in just a little bit and get their
Yes.
take on this semi-confusing but also very valid feeling that we all have of doing too much or needing to be more or even needing to be smaller
Yep.
and mute ourselves more in this life experience.
Yes.
I can't wait to hear everyone's take. But for now, we wish you a beautiful day and we'll see you on the next episode.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.
Bye.